What if I told you there's a part of female sexual anatomy that you've been completely unaware of? A hidden pleasure zone that not only have you probably never heard of, but there's a significant chance that your girl hasn't either. And trust me, this is not some obscure area that barely matters. It is a critical component of her arousal and orgasm potential. And it's something that most people are totally in the dark about until now. Welcome back to The Naked Connection. This is the show that supports driven men to reach sexual mastery and build deep connections. What's up, you guys? It's Kirsten, and I want you to take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss a single episode. I am so excited to share this week's episode with you because understanding this really often overlooked erogenous zone is going to take your sexual skills to an entirely new level. So, if you are ready to blow your partner's mind with pleasure like they've never experienced before, this episode is for you. Let's get some. Spring cleaning isn't just for your apartment. Guys, it's time to hit reset on your personal grooming routine too. Manscaped's Beard and Balls bundle has you covered from cheek to cheeks to make sure you're presenting your best self. Join over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and use code NAKED20 for 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Complete confidence starts with complete grooming. The beard hedger is going to keep your facial hair perfectly manicured, while the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra takes care of business down there. Because let's be real, when things are heating up, the last thing you want her thinking about is how she's going to navigate your wild undergrowth. Skincare technology means these tools are designed to minimize nicks and irritations in your most sensitive areas because nobody wants to explain those kind of battle scars when the clothes are coming off. Don't leave your intimate encounters to chance. Upgrade to the Beard and Balls bundle from Manscaped by visiting manscaped.com and use code NAKED20 to get 20% off plus free shipping. Take control of your grooming game, guys. She's going to notice the difference. Okay, so you're probably wondering, Kirsten, what is this mysterious hidden pleasure center that I am talking about? Drumroll, please. It is the vestibular bulbs, also called the bulbs of the vestibule. If you've never heard of them, you are not alone. But understanding this incredible structure is about to revolutionize your approach to female pleasure. So let's start with the basics. What exactly are the vestibular bulbs? There are these incredible structures located on either side of the vaginal opening, running beneath the outer lips of a woman's vulva. So think of them like two parentheses that curve from the clitoris down to the vaginal entrance. What makes these so mind-blowing is that they're made up of erectile tissue. Yes, erectile tissue, just like what's in your penis. And most people don't realize that women have about the same amount of erectile tissue as men do. So it's just really distributed differently throughout the genital area rather than concentrated in one organ. So these bulbs are actually part of the larger clitoral complex. While oftentimes you're probably focused on the visible tip of the clit, which is amazing in its own right with more nerve endings than an entire penis. So we love that as well. But there's so much more that's happening beneath the surface. And that is where we are focusing today. I want to ask you if you have ever noticed how a woman's vulva actually becomes darker, more swollen, and truly engorged when she's really turned on. That is largely due to these vestibular bulbs filling with blood and becoming erect themselves. So when these bulbs are fully aroused, they create this incredible pressure and fullness that really intensifies all other sensations. So the more aroused and the more blood flow that is flowing to this part of your woman's body, the more sensation she is going to have. And the wild thing is that most women have no idea that this is even a part of their body. So, not only will you be introducing her to a new kind of pleasure, but you'll be teaching her something about her own body that she probably didn't know before. And trust me, nothing is sexier to a woman than a man who understands her body better than she does, especially when that knowledge leads to mind-blowing experiences and you get to give that to her. So, why should you care about the vestibular bulbs? For one thing, they're directly connected to how intense a woman's orgasm can be. When these bulbs are fully engorged, they put pressure on all surrounding nerve endings, amplifying every sensation that she has. It's like the difference between pressing one key on a piano versus hitting a full chord. The resonance and the depth and the sound are completely different. When you learn to engage both the external clitoris and these vestibular bulbs, you're really ultimately creating a symphony of pleasure rather than just playing a single note. Another reason these are so important is that they respond to different types of stimulation than the external clitoris does. So the visible part of the clit tends to prefer lighter, more precise, more precious touch because of all of those nerve endings that are right at the surface. So it's really sensitive and delicate. On the other hand, these vestibular bulbs, they love firm, consistent pressure because the sensation is coming from deeper tissue. And understanding this difference really is going to give you an entire new toolkit for arousal with your girl. And it means that you can be switching between different types of stimulation to build her pleasure in waves rather than just one approach, one type of touch in one single location on her body. And this variety is often the key to helping her reach more intense orgasms than she has experienced before. So, with that, I want to share with you three specific techniques for really stimulating this hidden pleasure center that will absolutely transform your intimate encounters. Because while we are talking about giving her this increased pleasure, this increased orgasm, chances are the more aroused she is, the more into the sexual experience that she is going to be, and the more enjoyable that is going to be for you. So, first up is what I will call the triangle technique. And this is something that you can really think about using during oral sex. Now, most men focus exclusively on the visible parts of the clitoris during oral, which feels amazing. And you're missing out on so much more potential pleasure to do this. Imagine a triangle where the clitoris is at the top point and the vestibular bulbs form the two bottom points, one on either side of her vaginal opening. And as you're performing oral, alternate between these 3 points. So you can start with her clit and then move down to one vestibular bulb and then move over to the other and back up to her clit. So really thinking about moving in this triangular shape while you're giving oral. And the really important difference in how you touch these areas is going to be the amount of pressure that you apply. So yes, while you're using that lighter touch on the top of her clitoris, when you stimulate the vestibular bulbs, use a firmer, more deliberate pressure with your tongue or your fingers. So you can make slow, firm circles, circling up and down movements along the sides of her vaginal opening. And you won't be able to really feel exactly where the bulbs are, but they run along that whole area. This triangle technique works because you're essentially charging up her entire pleasure system rather than just that one part. Think about it like this. Instead of focusing all of your intention on just one spot, you're activating her entire arousal network. It's like the difference between flipping one switch in your house versus turning on the entire electrical grid. The second technique that we are looking at here is using your fingers to directly stimulate these bulbs. So while the triangle technique is more focused on when you're doing oral, we're going to talk a little bit more when you incorporate some hands into this pleasure. Start by making sure that you have plenty of lubrication, whether that's her natural wetness or using some safe lubrication. I like to call lube the liquid of love. No fear in using some with her, especially in the beginning. And you will start to notice as she becomes more aroused, as her vestibular bulbs become more engorged, more and more wetness will be showing up from her body. Begin here with really gentle exploration. So, tracing a line from one side of her vaginal opening up towards her clit and then down on the other side. And as you feel her become more aroused, you can gradually increase the pressure and you can use really a firm circular motion on each side, alternating between the two. What's amazing about using your fingers is that you can actually start to feel these bulbs become engorged underneath your touch. They'll get puffy and firmer as the blood flow increases, which is really going to be for you a visible and a sensational signal that you are doing exactly the right thing. And here's a pro tip. You can easily incorporate this during penetrative sex as well by using your thumb or your finger to actually apply pressure to these areas while you are inside of her. This creates an incredible sensation of fullness that can really lead to some seriously intense orgasms. The third technique, which might surprise you, is going to be using your thigh. Many women discover self-pleasure by grinding up against something firm, right? Like maybe a pillow or the arm of a couch. And for a lot of women, this is the first time that they've been able to experience some kind of arousal. This is really because the vestibular bulbs respond incredibly well to that kind of broad, firm pressure. Knowing this, during a makeout session when things are just getting started in your next intimate encounter, you can position your thigh between her legs and allow her and invite her to really grind up against you. The pressure this creates against both her clitoris and the vestibular bulbs can be incredibly arousing. And this is also great because it works even with clothes being on already, really making it perfect for building that anticipation and supporting her own turn on before you even get to the point where clothes are being taken off. And what makes this technique of using your thigh so effective is that it engages her whole vulva all at once. Rather than needing to stimulate individual parts and touching different parts or licking, sucking, kissing different parts, you're actually creating pressure across her entire pleasure system simultaneously. And there is something incredibly satisfying about an all-encompassing sensation. Now, as with any sexual technique, communication can be so essential. Every woman's body is going to be a little bit different, and what works amazingly for one woman might not be as effective for another. And knowing that, start by asking if she's even ever heard of vestibular bulbs. Chances are she hasn't, and sharing this knowledge can be such a turn on in and of itself. Women love knowing that you care enough about their pleasure to learn about their anatomy. So great. And as you explore these techniques, invite feedback. Simple questions like, how does this feel? Or do you want more pressure? Do you want firmer, softer? Those types of questions can really lead to incredible discoveries for not only you, but also for her to have with you and for the two of you to really be exploring each other's bodies together. And watch her body language too. Her breathing, the sounds that she's making, the way that her body moves towards or away from your touch. These are all such valuable clues for you to gauge what is truly happening for her. And remember that this isn't about performing or showing off your skills. It is about genuine exploration and connection. So, approaching this with curiosity rather than trying to prove something. And when you do that, you will both have a much more satisfying experience. The real magic happens when you integrate vestibular bulb stimulation with everything else that you already know about pleasing your woman. This is not about replacing techniques that already work, it's really about adding a new dimension to them. So, for example, if you know that your girl loves a particular position during sex, think about right now how you might incorporate some pressure or stimulation to the vestibular bulbs in that position. If she's enjoying a certain type of clitoral stimulation, consider how you might combine that with providing some attention to these bulbs as well. And the goal is to really create that full spectrum experience where all parts of her sexual anatomy are engaging in the symphony of pleasure. When you do this effectively, you're not just giving her an orgasm, you're giving her a whole body experience that she'll be thinking about for days to come. You guys, understanding female anatomy at this level of detail isn't just about technique. It is about showing up as a man who truly cares about his partner's pleasure. When you take the time to learn about parts of your woman's body that she might not even know about, you're demonstrating a level of investment that is incredibly sexy. So, I encourage you to approach these techniques with both confidence and humility. Be excited to share this new knowledge, but also be open to learn exactly how her unique body is going to respond. I guarantee that paying attention to these often overlooked vestibular bulbs is going to transform your intimate encounters in ways neither of you expected. And isn't that what great sex is all about? Continuing to discover new dimensions of pleasure together. Oh, okay. So if you have found this episode valuable, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with somebody that you think might benefit. This is Kirsten, and until next time, let's get some.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Naked Connection. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Trust me on this, your sex life and that special someone in your life will thank you for it. And if you really love the show, please take a moment and leave a 5-star review or a written review and let me know what you think. It would mean so much to me and this show. Until next time, happy connecting.